Hello, my name is Sandra Murray, and I'll be discussing my process in completing the program planning project. The project consists of four major components: the community needs assessment, the program planning assignment, client education material, and the professional nutrition article. This presentation will focus on the community needs assessment, CNA, the program planning assignment, and the client education material. The CNA was based on the evaluation of the community served by the Central Florida Kidney Dialysis Center, and the target population was their hemodialysis patients. Based on the input from our renal preceptor and the internet-based resources, the CNA revealed two nutritional needs not being met within this community. One, food insecurity, and two, lack of access to community resources to obtain food. Most of the dialysis patients are low income and lack transportation to local food pantries or soup kitchens. The incomes of most of the patients are slightly above 130% of the poverty line, and as a result, they do not qualify for food stamps. An additional nutrition need not being met are the food sources provided by the food pantries and soup kitchens. Many of the food options are not recommended foods for patients on hemodialysis, such as low phosphorus, low sodium, and low potassium. Therefore, if the patients had adequate transportation to the local food pantry, the current foods being offered would generate complications between dialysis treatments. Based on these findings, I developed a program called Food Access for All, which will partner with Second Harvest Food Bank to discuss the food options recommended for hemodialysis patients and the lack of access to food pantries and soup kitchens due to insufficient transportation. The goals identified in Activity 1 include 1. Improving malnutrition by reducing food insecurity among low-income hemodialysis patients. 2. Increasing the community awareness about the hemodialysis diet. And 3. Partnerships with food banks and food pantries in the local area to increase food access. Activity 2 addresses the intervention strategy. The primary purpose of the intervention strategy is to close the gaps between needy hemodialysis patients and food distribution programs. An extension of the Food Access for All program is to bring awareness to both food banks and food pantries the nutrition disparities among low-income patients on hemodialysis. Part of this awareness is to provide education on the types of foods recommended for patients suffering from renal failure. As a part of the Level 1 intervention, Second Harvest Food Bank and participating food pantries will receive a letter on behalf of Central Florida Kidney Center explaining the demographics of the patients, their medical condition, and provide a list of foods restricted from patients diagnosed with renal failure. The ultimate goal of this program planning project falls under the Level 3 intervention, where Central Florida Kidney Center will become a food pantry site and the patients will have full access while at the dialysis center for their treatment. Activity 3 addresses nutrition education. The education program will consist of two 60-minute sessions. The target audiences are the employees from Second Harvest Food Bank and the local food pantries. Again, the name of the program is Food Access for All, and the tagline is In Food Security, which may appear on brochures and other promotional material. Activity 4 identifies the consumers, referral sources, and key decision makers. The users of this program are the low-income patients on hemodialysis who receive their treatment at Central Florida Kidney Center. No referrals are necessary. All patients have access to the Food Access for All program. The key decision maker influencing participation in the program would include the dialysis patients and their family members. No cost or health insurance authorizations are required to participate. Activity 5 is the development of a timeline that shows the critical path and other activities that must be completed to successfully implement the program. It would take a year to fully implement the Food Access for All program. The first 3 months involves preparing the center to become a food pantry, partnering with local food pantries, obtaining 3 letters of recommendation, and completing the application process. Prior to submitting the application, Central Florida Kidney Center must operate as a distribution center for at least 90 days, and this must be documented in the application. This step is the critical path for the entire project. Upon application submission, an additional 2 months is allocated for the review and approval process. Upon approval, 3 months is allocated for orientation and the required training. Finally, a month is allocated for finalizing the agreement. I created 2 nutrition documents for this project. 1, a list of recommended foods for people on hemodialysis for Second Harvest Food Bank, and 2, a list of health and nutrition resources, including contact information and website information for the patients at the dialysis center. In conclusion, the community being assessed were low-income residents of Winter Garden, Florida, diagnosed with end-stage renal disease and on dialysis. This community suffers from food insecurity and lack of access to community resources to obtain food due to lack of adequate transportation. The Food Access for All program is designed to close the gaps between needy hemodialysis patients and the food distribution programs. To resolve the problem of the patients not having access to adequate food that meets their specific needs, the goal of the program is to bring food directly to the patients. The ultimate goal of the Food Access for All program is Central Florida Kidney Center becoming a food pantry site for their dialysis patients. My name is Sandra Murray, and thank you for viewing my video presentation.